What is your thought in the last moment of your life matters more than what you did all your life.
Pay close attention. A newly declassified CIA document confirms what many have long suspected. Reincarnation cycles are real. The agency called it the Gateway Experience. Officially, it was an experiment in altered states of consciousness. Unofficially, it was a journey beyond the veil, into other dimensions, past lives, and alternate realities. The Gateway Experience. In their 1983 report titled Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process, buried in government vaults for decades, the agency was studying astral projection, out-of-body experiences, and the journey of the soul beyond the physical. What they found was nothing short of earth-shattering. The mind, they discovered, is not bound by the body. It's not even bound by time. Under deep meditative states, some induced by sound frequencies, others by sheer mental discipline, subjects reported traveling through the fabric of time and space. They witnessed themselves in other lives, other bodies, other worlds. Their accounts matched what ancient texts have been saying for thousands of years. From the Bhagavad Gita to Tibetan Buddhist scriptures, from Plato's dialogues to the parables of the Desert Fathers, the idea has echoed across civilizations that the soul returns again and again until it learns, until it remembers, until it breaks free. Once you understand what reincarnation really is and what it means for your life now, you can't be controlled the same way. Fear loses its grip, death loses its sting, and those who profit from your fear, those who thrive when you live small and afraid, lose their power. There is a reason this document was locked away. A soul, born not just once but countless times, waking up in one life after another, wearing different faces, speaking different tongues, forgetting who it really is each time, only to slowly start remembering, through flashes of déjà vu, through dreams that feel too real, through moments of connection with strangers that can't be explained. You've felt it before, haven't you? That someone you just met knows you deeper than they should. That some places feel like home even though you've never stepped foot there. These aren't coincidences, they're echoes. In CIA's exploration of what they called the Absolute, they described a formless, eternal consciousness from which all life flows and to which all life returns. When the physical body dies, the soul reabsorbs into this Absolute, only to be reinserted into a new experience when the time is right. This mirrors the Vedic concept of samsara, the Buddhist idea of wheel of rebirth, and even the Christian notion of an eternal soul journeying through trials until it is perfected. Different names, same truth. But they believed this cycle could be broken. Just like the monks of Mount Athos or the mystics of Kabbalah, the CIA researchers theorized that through awareness, through mastering the mind and learning to navigate the deeper layers of reality, one could escape the reincarnation cycle and return permanently to the source. You are an eternal, indestructible soul. You are not a random bundle of atoms. You are not the result of some accident of evolution. You are a traveler, an explorer, a being of light wearing a temporary costume, and you've done this before, over and over, for lifetimes. One day, a farmer in ancient Mesopotamia. Another, a young woman dancing on temple steps in India. Another, a soldier trembling under the cold stars of Normandy. And now, here, in this life, watching these words because a part of you is starting to remember. The document spoke of something else too, something few talk about but many feel. A resistance. There are forces that seek to keep you bound to this cycle, forces that feed on your amnesia, on your pain, on your confusion. The ancients spoke of them as archons, mara, or principalities. The CIA simply called them residual patterns, but the effect is the same. They create loops. They drag you back into the same struggles, the same fears, the same regrets, lifetime after lifetime. But now, you know, and knowledge is the first step toward liberation. You were never just a body. You were not born the day you took your first breath. That moment, your tiny lungs filling with air for the first time, was only the latest chapter in a much older book. You have lived before, and not in the poetic, symbolic way we tell ourselves to make peace with time. No, you have actually lived before, other lives, other faces, other names whispered to you in dreams you don't remember, but feel in your bones. The truth is, you're not who you think you are. You are something far deeper than a name, an age, a body. You are a soul, an ageless, indivisible stream of light wrapped in flesh. What you see in the mirror is only the outer layer, a reflection of your current assignment. But the being behind your eyes, that watcher, that quiet awareness that never changes, even as everything around you does, that is you. Not metaphorically, literally. From the very beginning of recorded thought, human beings have sensed that we are more than material. Ancient texts whispered it. The Vedas spoke of the Atman, pure immortal self, glowing behind every action. The Tao Te Ching pointed at it, calling it the eternal Tao from which all things rise. The Gospel of Thomas said, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you." What else could that mean, except that something timeless lives within? That thing is your soul, and it does not die. When your body breaks down and breath stops, that soul does not disappear. It steps out, shakes off the dust of this temporary home, and begins again. It remembers, it reviews, and, like a traveler between cities, it moves to the next destination. Why? Because the soul does not seek comfort, it seeks growth, and growth cannot happen in stillness. It needs the friction of life, the hard beauty of time, the mirrors of other people, and the weight of choices. Life is not a test, it's a classroom, and every incarnation is a new lesson, a new story, a new form through which the eternal can learn about itself. There are times you felt it, moments when you walked into a place you'd never been and knew exactly where everything was. Times when you met someone for the first time and were flooded with a warmth or grief that made no rational sense. These aren't coincidences. They are memories peeking through the veil. Your soul has lived in bodies both male and female, poor and rich, weak and powerful. It has known love so deep it bent the laws of time, and pain so sharp it still echoes in the corners of your current life. You carry imprints, karmic footprints, from every step you've taken before. That sudden fear of water, that fire in your chest when you hear a particular kind of music. Those might be whispers from past selves. This is not superstition. This is how reality works, behind the curtain of appearances. Everything you experience in this life is shaped in part by what came before. The soul doesn't just carry memories, it carries momentum. Like a river flowing through many landscapes, it remembers the rocks it hit, the bends it took. Your desires, your anxieties, your gifts, they are all fingerprints from previous lives. But here's the miracle. You are not bound by the past. You are informed by it. Your soul didn't come into this life by accident. It chose this. You choose you, this body, this family, this time, not as punishment, not as some cruel game, but because something in you needed this precise arrangement of challenges, joys, and opportunities to evolve. You are on a path of remembering. The soul forgets on purpose when it enters a body. It has to. The weight of all those lifetimes would overwhelm the nervous system. But deep down, a part of you never forgets. That's the part that knows how to love without reason. that forgives instinctively, that dreams of flight, of ancient lands, of stars. That's the part we call consciousness. Not just waking thought, but the field of awareness behind it. The infinite presence was watching it all. Some call it God, some call it Source. But many spiritual traditions say the same thing in different ways, that there is only one consciousness, and each of us is a wave on its surface. That means your soul is not separate from the divine. It is divine, not someday, not after death, but right now, living through you, touching the world through your fingertips, seeing through your eyes. The body is temporary, the soul is eternal, and consciousness is unbreakable. You are not trapped in this life, you are journeying through it. And when this chapter closes, you will simply turn the page. That's what reincarnation is. Not a punishment, not an endless loop, but an unfolding, a spiral of awareness that rises higher each time it returns. You come back not to suffer, but to refine, to love more wisely, to break old patterns, to expand into the vast being you truly are. Eventually the cycle ends, not because you escape it, but because you master it. You remember that you were never just a body trying to be spiritual. You were spirit all along, trying to remember what it means to be human. But what happens in the space between lives? What the soul does between lives. So, you've left the body. The final breath slips out, the heart stills, and the world falls silent. But you are still very much aware. In fact, in those first moments after death, many souls report feeling more awake than they ever did while alive. Like a fog lifting. Gone are the tight walls of the body, the constant noise of thoughts, and the weight of gravity. You're floating, light, formless, clear. And what's more, you remember. The veil begins to thin. Glimpses of who you truly are come rushing back like a tide. Other lifetimes, old faces, familiar stars. You are no longer inside the dream of a single life. Now, you are back in the waiting space between stories. Many traditions speak of this place. The ancient Egyptians called it the Duat, a dimension where the soul journeys after death. Tibetan mystics wrote about the Bardo, a vivid in-between realm where souls reflect on their past and prepare for their future. In Greek thought, it was Hades, not a place of torment, but a quiet underworld of transition. Even early Christian mystics hinted at it before their texts were buried beneath doctrine. This place isn't purgatory, it's a sanctuary, a soul's temple, and you don't arrive here alone. Soon after death, most souls are met by guides, beings of profound wisdom and love. They're not always in human form. Some appear as light. Some feel more like a presence than a person, but they are real. They've walked this path before, and they're here to walk it with you again. They don't judge. They don't punish. They remind. They hold up a mirror, not of your face, but of your life. What did you come to learn? How did you grow? Where did you fall asleep? And where did you finally wake up? The soul reviews all of this, not as guilt or regret, but as data for evolution. Every joy, every wound, every act of kindness, it's all absorbed back into the soul like sunlight into skin. You begin to see your life in patterns, not just moments. You see how your choices rippled outward, how a single kind word shaped someone's whole future, or how an unhealed wound echoed through a family line. You also see the karmic knots that still bind you, the unfinished stories, the unresolved emotions, the souls you're still entangled with across time. This is the moment of soul planning, and it's not random. You don't get sent back into a new life. You choose. With the help of your guides, you map out the next incarnation like an artist sketching the outline of a great painting. Where you'll be born, what body you'll wear, what lessons you'll carry forward, which souls you'll meet again, some as lovers, some as friends, some as enemies, but all for a reason. Some souls choose a difficult life because they're ready to burn off deep karma. Others choose gentler paths to rest, recalibrate, or support others. Some come to break a family curse. Others come to unlock a gift that will ripple through the collective. None of this is punishment, it's precision. Karma is not vengeance. It's not what goes around comes around in a simple, linear way. Karma is memory. It's the energetic result of choices that haven't yet reached harmony, and the soul longs for balance, not out of guilt, but out of wisdom. If you betrayed someone in one life, you may choose to be betrayed in the next, not to pay, but to understand. If you silenced others with your voice, you may return as someone learning to speak. If you wield great power, you may choose a life of service, humility, or stillness. This is not a system of punishment. It's a spiral staircase. Every incarnation lifts you higher, widens your vision, softens your ego, and strengthens your connection to the source. You may wonder, if the soul remembers all this between lives, why don't we remember when we're born? Because forgetting is part of the design. Just as a seed must be buried to grow, the soul must forget its vastness to truly experience life in form. If you remembered everything too soon, every betrayal, every love, every face you've worn, you'd be paralyzed. The forgetting gives your choices meaning. The mystery gives your struggles depth. Only through contrast can wisdom root itself in your being. But still, the memories leak through, in dreams, in déjà vu, in those flashes of irrational love or hate, in the talents you never trained for, the languages that feel like home, the music that moves you to tears. These are the breadcrumbs the soul leaves behind, little sparks of eternity hidden in the mundane. And sometimes, when you're still enough, you feel it. You know you've been here before, not because you read it somewhere, but because your body remembers. Your soul pulses with that knowing. And suddenly life becomes more than survival or success. It becomes sacred. Because when you know you've been here before, you stop fearing death. And when you stop fearing death, you start living. You start asking the deeper questions. You start listening to your intuition, which is just the voice of your soul nudging you toward alignment. You start seeing your enemies as old souls playing hard roles. You forgive more easily. You love more deeply. You take your time and yet waste none of it. And in time, you begin to see this life not as a single shot, but as a sentence in a great eternal poem. You are not here by mistake. You are here because your soul chose this exact moment to awaken something ancient inside you. The loops we live. There are moments in life when you stop and wonder, why does this keep happening to me? The same kind of partner, again and again. The same fight, the same heartbreak. The same fears waking you up at night. A sense of déjà vu in places you've never visited. A panic that doesn't seem to belong to this body. A yearning that has no obvious source. These are not random. They are echoes, ripples sent through time, trying to reach you. Every soul carries with it patterns from the lives before this one. They cling to us like notes in a melody, sometimes soft and beautiful, sometimes jarring and off-key. And we play them out again and again until we hear what they're trying to teach us. These patterns are the karmic loops, and everyone has them, not because we are flawed, not because we are doomed, but because our souls long to grow, and we can only grow when we learn what we came here to remember. Start with your deepest triggers. What makes your heart race? What makes you angry for reasons you can't explain? What themes come up over and over in your relationships? These emotional signatures are clues, breadcrumbs left by your past selves. Take, for example, someone who has always feared drowning. They've never had a bad experience in water, never even had a close call, and yet The ocean fills them with dread. A rational mind would dismiss it, but the soul doesn't forget. That fear could be a remnant of a death in another life, a memory locked in the body, not the brain, or someone who's born with an instinct for music. They touch a piano at age 4 and play like they've known it for centuries. Where did that gift come from? It wasn't taught, it was remembered. The same goes for relationships. Have you ever met someone and felt like you've known them forever? Or felt an instant aversion, even though they've done nothing wrong? That's soul recognition. It goes deeper than the eyes. The connection is older than this lifetime. Sometimes souls travel together in groups, what some call soul families or soul circles. These souls take turns playing different roles in each other's stories. Mother, brother, enemy, lover, teacher. It's not always gentle. Sometimes the one who breaks your heart now is the one who saved your life at another time. Sometimes your child was your parent. Sometimes your enemy is pushing you to grow in ways comfort never could. That's the soul's great paradox. The people who challenge us the most are often those we've loved the longest. In Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, this idea is known as samsara. It teaches that until we learn our lessons, we repeat the same patterns in different forms. But once we see them clearly, once we stop blaming fate or others, and instead look inward, the cycle begins to break. This is why awareness is so powerful. It's not about being perfect, it's about noticing. Noticing how every wound contains a story. Noticing how every trigger points to something deeper. Noticing how the people in your life reflect parts of yourself still asking to be healed. There's a Sufi story about a man who walks down a street and falls into a hole. He doesn't see it coming. The next day, he walks down the same street and falls in again. And the next day, and the next. Until one day, he finally notices the hole and walks around it. That's reincarnation in a single parable. Your soul is not asking you to avoid pain. It's asking you to wake up. Once you see the loop, you can change it. You begin to forgive, not just others, but yourself. You release people with love, even when they've hurt you. You recognize that fighting your pain only tightens the knot. So instead, you sit with it, you feel it, you ask what it came to teach, and slowly, gently, you loosen its grip on your life. Some karmic patterns are inherited through family lines. You might carry a fear that belonged to your grandmother, or shame passed down through generations. This is why healing yourself often heals backwards too, like a ripple through time. Some loops are global, collective trauma, collective stories, societies born from conquest and fear, repeating the same power dynamics century after century. Even here, reincarnation is at play. Entire groups of souls return to certain geographies, certain conflicts, certain ideologies, trying to finish the work. They began lifetimes ago, but not all loops are painful, some are sacred. The child who draws temples without ever seeing one, the teenager who feels called to healing, the adult who suddenly changes their life and begins meditating, painting, gardening, remembering the ancient rhythms that once shaped their days. These are echoes too. Your soul leaves breadcrumbs not just to avoid the holes, but to lead you back to your joy, your gifts, your purpose. So what can you do with this knowledge? First, don't dismiss your instincts, your irrational fears, your powerful attractions, your talents, your repeated dreams. They're trying to show you something. Second, observe your relationships. Who feels ancient to you? Who pushes your buttons? Who heals you just by existing? These are your teachers, your mirrors, your karmic companions. And most importantly, when life feels like a loop, get curious. Ask yourself, what is this trying to show me? Not why is this happening to me, but what is my soul learning from this? Unlocking the past. At first, the past might feel like a whisper, a flicker in a dream. A strange scene plays in your mind that you swear you've never lived, and yet it moves through you with the weight of something real. It may not have names or faces, but the emotions are sharp, unmistakable, like waking from a story you didn't write but somehow know by heart. This is how many begin remembering. Not in flashbacks or visions, not always. Sometimes it's just a feeling, a pull, a voice that calls from deep within you, asking to be heard again. What was left unresolved doesn't disappear. It waits quietly, patiently, until the moment you're finally ready to face it. And you are. The soul remembers. But the mind is loud, the body is distracted, the world moves fast. So we forget how to listen, we forget how to see. Reclaiming the memory of past lives isn't about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who you've always been. And you don't need a psychic, you don't need a guru, you already carry the keys. Start with your dreams. Dreams are one of the most direct ways the soul speaks to you. When the mind sleeps, the veil thins. You're not bound by time or logic. You drift into spaces where memory lives free of judgment. Many people visit scenes from past lives in dreams, repeating the same setting over and over, walking streets that don't exist on any map, speaking languages they've never learned. If you've ever woken up and felt a dream linger, as if it belonged more to you than the present day, that may have been a glimpse, and it's worth writing down. Details, feelings, symbols, especially ones that don't fit with anything in your current life. They're breadcrumbs. You can begin to piece them together. Meditation is another bridge. The deeper you go within, the more the mind steps aside and the soul rises to the surface. Past life recall often happens during long, quiet meditations, especially when you ask for it. Yes, you can ask. The universe listens when your heart is open. Try this. Before meditating, gently place the intention. I am ready to remember what my soul wants me to know. You're not forcing anything, you're simply inviting it. That alone is powerful. Sometimes what comes isn't visual. It's a sensation, a sudden sadness, a memory you can't quite place, or even a name that means nothing to your current life but feels oddly important. Let these impressions come. Don't chase them. Let them land on their own. There are also techniques like past life regression, a form of guided hypnosis where a trained guide helps you access deeper layers of memory. But even if you don't go that route, you can still find powerful clues in your daily life. Pay attention to your attractions and aversions. Are you drawn to a specific era in history almost obsessively? Do you collect items from a certain culture? Is there a place in the world you've never visited, but it feels like home when you see it in pictures? These are not accidents. Your soul remembers. Through symbols, art, music, tastes. Sometimes even scars or birthmarks carry the echo of past life injuries. It's been reported across cultures. Someone with an unexplained birthmark on the chest, later recalling a memory of dying from a wound in that exact spot. The great psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." And that awakening is exactly what begins when you truly start to listen to what your soul is saying. Even children remember, more easily in fact than adults, because they haven't been trained yet to doubt themselves. It's common for young kids to talk about their other families, or how they used to die in a fire or lived in the mountains. These stories fade as they grow older and are told it's all just imagination. But what if imagination is a doorway? In many Eastern traditions, remembering past lives is a sign of spiritual maturity. It's not about curiosity or ego, it's about healing. It's about bringing forward the parts of yourself that have stayed in the dark too long so that they can finally breathe. This is not to dwell on the past, it's to understand it, Understanding your past life pain can release its grip in the present. It's not about punishment. It's not about being broken. It's about learning, and learning by nature requires repetition. Think of your soul like a great artist, sculpting a masterpiece across centuries. Every life is a stroke of the chisel. Every experience is shaping something more profound than you can currently see. And here's a beautiful truth. The wounds don't follow you to punish you. They follow because you once believed a lie, that you were not worthy, not loved, not whole. And your soul is here to remember the truth again and again until it finally sticks. The soul seeks wholeness. That's why you're here now, why you're reading these words. Something inside you already knows there is more, that the story of your life didn't begin at birth and won't end with death, that you are a traveler, a witness of time, a seeker of light. But you may wonder why some souls choose specific challenges in this life, including illness, trauma, or poverty. The sacred agreements, why you chose this life. You didn't land here by accident, not just vaguely, not just a rough sketch. It knew exactly what it needed. It chose the family, the body, the timing, even the struggles. And it did so not to suffer, but to grow. This is one of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring truths about reincarnation, that the lives we live are not random. They are carefully, lovingly crafted by our higher selves, crafted for healing, for completion, for remembering the parts of us we left behind. Yes, even the pain was chosen. That can be a hard thing to accept. How could anyone choose heartbreak, illness, abandonment, or fear? But the soul sees differently than the mind. The soul doesn't divide things into good and bad. It sees only opportunity, opportunity to evolve. In many spiritual traditions, this is known as the soul contract. Imagine a vast, quiet space between lives, a space beyond time. You sit there with your guides, beings of light, wisdom, and ancient memory. You look back at the lives you've lived, the choices you've made. The wounds are still left open, and from that place of clarity, you say, "This time, I want to face this fear. I want to learn this lesson. I want to free myself." And so, the blueprint is drawn. You may choose a parent who abandons you, not as punishment, but to push you to discover your own worth. You may choose poverty to learn detachment, or illness to slow down and remember the body as sacred. You may even choose betrayal so you can unlock compassion and forgiveness. The soul doesn't waste a single moment. Every heartbreak, every joy, and every silence is a thread in the tapestry of your becoming. The beauty is that you are not a victim of fate. You are a creator of meaning. Even the darkest moments carry a hidden seed of transformation. You may not remember making these choices, but your soul does. And your heart feels the echo of that ancient agreement. That's why some things trigger you so deeply, why certain moments feel oddly fated, why some people walk into your life and it's like you've known them forever, because you have. The energy you create in one life ripples across others. If you cause harm, you may return in a life where you experience the pain you once gave. Not because you're being punished, but because the soul longs to understand both sides of every story. If you were once a king, you may return as a servant. If you were a healer, you may come back needing healing. Each life is a mirror, helping you see yourself more clearly. But karma is not fixed. It is not a life sentence. It is fluid. It responds to love. It bends with forgiveness. You are never stuck. You can rewrite karma by how you choose to respond to your life now. The moment you forgive someone, you release centuries of burden. The moment you love without condition, you undo lifetimes of fear. The moment you remember who you really are, the entire cycle begins to shift. Think of it as a spiral staircase. You may return to the same themes, the same patterns, but each time you're higher than before. You're seeing the same lesson from a wiser place. Eventually, you rise above it completely. That's evolution. The soul also chooses its allies. Before you were born, you made sacred pacts with certain souls, those who would walk with you, teach you, challenge you, and love you. Some would stay for only moments. Others would follow you across lifetimes. These are your soul family. They may show up as friends, lovers, children, or even enemies, but they all serve a sacred purpose. You'll recognize them by the way they shake your life, sometimes gently, sometimes violently, but always with deeper meaning. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt like you were coming home? That's your soul remembering theirs. The language is older than speech. Even animals can be soul companions. They return to us in different forms, offering the same unconditional love across lifetimes. They too are on their own soul journey, intertwined with ours. As you begin to live with this awareness, something shifts. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" You stop seeing pain as a punishment and start seeing it as a doorway. Because nothing happens to you. It happens to you. Even the detours, even the delays. They are part of a larger design, a design your soul wrote with infinite love. And when you align with that design, life begins to flow. Patterns make sense. Old wounds begin to heal. Relationships transform. Your past lives stop haunting you and start guiding you. You become the alchemist of your own soul story. Beyond the wheel, what reincarnation is really for. You've been here before, not just once, not twice, possibly hundreds of times. And with each return, something inside you calls out, "There's more. I'm not finished yet." But what exactly are we returning for? Why does the soul keep stepping back into the world, through new eyes, in new bodies, under new names? What's the purpose of this great cycle of forgetting and remembering? The answer is simple, but it's also everything: awakening. Every life you live is like a page in a vast and sacred book written by your soul for the sake of knowing itself. And the soul longs to know all of it, the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow, the rising and the falling. Only then can it truly awaken. That awakening is not about becoming someone different. It's about stripping away everything that is not you, everything the world taught you, everything fear told you, everything pain convinced you to believe. Underneath it all, you are something eternal, something luminous, something free. This is what reincarnation serves, the slow, steady peeling away of illusion. It's not seen as a punishment, but as a classroom, a place of deep, profound learning. And like all students, we return until the lessons sink in. We come back not because we must, but because our soul is committed to its own evolution. Think of it as a game, one not made of competition, but of realization. Each life gives you a chance to level up, and every time you make a choice based in love instead of fear, truth instead of denial, courage instead of numbness, you rise, you remember, you begin to break free. But what are we breaking free into? That's where things get more mysterious, more sacred, because reincarnation is not endless. The cycle does end. There is a point where the soul no longer needs to return, where the lessons are complete, where the karma is balanced, the wounds are healed, and the remembering is whole. And what comes then is liberation. In Buddhist thought, it's called nirvana. In Hindu tradition, it's moksha. In mystical Christianity, it's a union with God. Different names, but they all point to the same idea: a return to the source, a merging with the infinite, not in a way that erases you, but in a way that fulfills you beyond imagination. It's like a drop of water returning to the ocean, but carrying with it everything it learned as a drop. The soul becomes light again, boundless, no longer tethered by the need for form. But here's what might surprise you. Many souls who reach this point choose to come back anyway. Why? Because of compassion. The Bodhisattva in Buddhist teachings is a soul who reaches the threshold of liberation but turns back. Not because it has to, but because it wants to help others rise too. It returns as a guide, a healer, a quiet light in the darkness. These are the souls who show up as wisdom carriers, way showers, gentle revolutionaries who awaken something ancient in us with just a glance or a word. Perhaps you've met one. Perhaps you are one, and you're just now starting to remember. Because once you begin to awaken, you start noticing things differently. You begin to see patterns, how everything you feared or hated is teaching you something. You begin to feel connected to others in a way that goes beyond words. You begin to remember moments from other times, other places, where you've done this before. And more than anything, you feel a longing, a strange, beautiful ache, not to escape the world, but to rise within it, to bring light into it, to finish what you started long ago. This is the soul's calling, not just to be reborn, but to be reborn awake. And when you do that, when you live with the memory of eternity inside you, the whole world begins to change. You're no longer afraid of death because you know you've danced with it 1,000 times. You're no longer paralyzed by pain because you know how temporary it is. You stop asking if your life has meaning because you feel the meaning in every breath. And that is freedom. You don't have to wait for another lifetime to begin this journey. You can begin now. You already are. The very act of reading these words means something inside you is stirring. The soul doesn't wake all at once. It stirs slowly, like a candle flickering in a dark room. But even the smallest flame can burn through centuries of forgetting. Awakening the eternal self. After lifetimes of seeking, suffering, searching, and forgetting, you've arrived at a crossroads in your being. Something deep inside you has remembered the truth. You're not just a person. You're not just a name, a body, a story. You are soul. You are light that cannot be extinguished. You've carried yourself across centuries, through flames and kingdoms, through silence and chaos. You've been the villain. You've been the healer. You've been the child who died too young and the elder who died too late. You've been lost in illusion. You've been consumed by ego. You've also touched God. And through it all, something inside you remained untouched. That something is who you really are. Now that you remember it, the question becomes, how do you live like it? Not everyone is meant to sit in caves or chant in temples. Awakening doesn't require robes or rituals. It only requires presence. It requires honesty, gentleness, and above all, the courage to live from the soul. You don't have to become anything new. In fact, it's the opposite. You're being called to let go of the masks, to let go of the performance, to stop pretending you are only flesh and fear. Your soul is knocking gently but insistently, asking you to answer, not with words, but with action. So, begin here. Wake up with reverence. Each morning is not just another day, it's another lifetime. The moment you open your eyes, the soul rejoices. Another chance, another page to write with love. Look people in the eyes. Truly see them, not just as bodies, but as travelers like you. Souls wrapped in stories, masks, wounds, and laughter. Every single person is fighting a battle you once fought in another life. So be kind, be curious, follow your intuition. That quiet whisper, it's ancient. It's the voice that has guided you across dimensions, lifetimes, and santars. Trust it. Let it speak louder than fear. Love wildly. Love even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Love is the one thing that survives the death of everybody. It is the only currency your soul carries from life to life. It is the thread that links all your incarnations, and it is the reason you came back again. Forgive. Release the chains you forged in past lives. No one wins when you hold on to bitterness. If someone hurt you, you have probably hurt them before. If someone saved you, you've probably saved them too. We are all dancing in each other's mirrors, and every time you forgive, you end a karmic loop that may have lasted for centuries. Listen to the wind, to the silence, to the part of you that remembers. Your soul speaks in quiet ways, dreams, gut feelings, synchronicities. Listen, and the path will appear. Create. It's how you channel the eternal into form, and meditate. Even just a few minutes a day. Not to escape, but to return. Close your eyes, breathe, and feel the vast stillness inside you. That stillness is older than your body. It is older than your name. It is your original state. You don't have to renounce the world. You just have to stop being asleep in it. Let death no longer scare you. It is not the end. It is only the beginning of a deeper homecoming. When you die, you do not disappear. You return to the realm between lives, a place of unimaginable love and memory, where you'll rest, reflect, and choose again. But what if you could reach that place now, without dying? You can. That's what awakening really is, dying before death. Let go of the illusion, remembering who you've always been, and then walking through the world with your heart wide open. You become a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between past lives and future ones, between the soul and the skin. This is the destiny of every human being, to awaken, in time, to the truth that was always within them. And here is the deepest secret of all. You are already free. You have always been. The wheel of rebirth was never a prison. It was a spiral staircase. And now that you've climbed high enough to see it, you have a choice. You can go back down, or you can rise beyond it. Some will forget again. That's okay. They are just beginning. Others, like you, will walk on with a new kind of fire in their chest. Not the fire of ambition, but the fire of knowing. You are eternal. You are loved. You are light that will never dim. So go. Live this life. Not like it's your first or your last, but like it's your most precious. Because it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to subscribe to the